Hello, hello, everybody. Sorry to say that we are not joined with Aaron and Bart. I don't know where Bart is, and this may be the last show of Conspiracy or Not, since Aaron has thought that perhaps he might want to do other things with his life. So that's the announcement that I have going here, and I apologize for its being on my channel. But so far, so good. We're not having too many issues. At any rate, tonight we have an awesome guest, Photoviapop or Photoviapops. Either one. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amy. It could be either one. I changed it when I got my first channel chopped by Google.
Yep.
Because I got a lifetime ban. I had a lifetime ban from YouTube first time. So
really?
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's one of the topics that we wanted to talk about, is a little bit of censorship here, huh?
Yeah, just a tad.
Just a wee bit.
we're actually being wiped out, I think, from Google
I think they're trying to.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that the reason I got my backup channel was because they were hacking at my main channel, and my main channel presently has 2 strikes. And I don't know how long it's going to be that we continue to have something going there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. And oh, we've got some people listening. Awesome.
Oh, cool.
Hey to Allison and hey to Adelaide. Thank you for joining us tonight. Anyway, so you've been pretty much your original channel got taken off. Is that correct?
Yeah, in 2016. Oh.
So I must have found your second channel initially, and that one seems to be gone too.
I'm on my 6th channel. I've lost 5 in 3 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
And initially with
this...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say the first channel was all about Dunblane and Sandy Hook, and it was a 9-part series with a few other videos made around that subject. I've never had a strike on any Dunblane video, which is really interesting. Or Sandy Hook.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. But it's everything else. I put up one about Boston. I got hurt. I put up one about what's his name? Lenny Posner's son appearing.
Oh, yes.
Peshawar,
the Noah.
Yeah.
The Noah double appearance. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, like most of us, all I do is ask questions, right? That's it. I wasn't in the school at Sandy Hook, and I wasn't in the school at Dunblane, so I can't tell you what went on. But I have ideas and questions, and that's it.
Oh, yes, lots of questions.
Yes.
Questions that, I mean, when you look at, now, I understand that you think that Dunblane actually had children that were killed. Is that correct?
I knew one of the kids that died. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that one was, if not a real event in the sense of some deranged shooter just coming in and shooting, somebody was shooting real bullets and killing real people.
The Dunblane to me is the definition of a false flag.
Yeah.
Major cover-up went on there. Most people in the UK are now aware that the official story is questionable. The perpetrator was a pedophile, a known pedophile. I knew him, and he wasn't allowed into our scout groups and things like that because of his pedophilia and the way that he was quite cruel with children as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he was banned from all the official boys groups. So he started his own, which is the connection to Dunblane Primary School, really. And
Right.
there are many questions about what really happened that day, which I go
Yep.
into in the 9-part series. Yeah. So that's my humble opinion. I knew one of the kids, and my father was a press photographer, and he was on the scene and saw some of the kids injured and dead. So not at the scene, sorry, at the local hospitals, because I lived a few
Mm-hmm.
miles away that day. So I get a lot of people saying that Dunblane was a hoax. You're free to believe whatever you want. I don't have an issue with that. I can just tell you what I know. That's all,
Right.
And
Well, from the sounds of things, I'm beginning to think that Dunblane indeed was a false flag, whereas Sandy Hook, they just took the script from that and put together a show.
that
That would
that
be my
was
estimate.
yeah, that was my suggestion in my 9-part series, because when I had stopped watching TV for a very long time before Sandy Hook. I didn't really catch it until people started talking about it on platforms like YouTube, and then I was like, oh my God, this happened in Dunblane, that happened. So I thought I have to put this information out there. Because 17
Right.
years had gone by since Dunblane. But as you know, the result after Dunblane was an out and out ban on all handguns in the UK under
Yep.
22 caliber. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe they
and then
thought that Sandy Hook would would work out that
I
way.
I think they kind of thought it might, because it was children, And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but shortly after Dunblane, it was 6 weeks later, Australia had their own false flag, in my humble opinion, massacre in Port Arthur, that resulted
Right.
in their gun laws being restricted, banning all handguns once again. And here we fast forward to 2012, and whatever they tried to do with Sandy Hook, it didn't work, right? It didn't work. It's like,
Well, it laid some groundwork, but that was all.
it did, yeah, it really did. But Sandy Hook and Dunblane are rabbit holes so deep. You could just
Mm-hmm.
research forever in those two events, and then if you look at Australia as well, the man that he's still in prison, he's still alive. He's never been given a trial. He was found
Hmm.
guilty by merely saying, I did it. He's never had due process. There was no public inquiry. And that man had an IQ of something like 60 odd. He didn't know anything about guns. There's so many questions about that as well. So they were doing it long before Sandy Hook, but I don't think a lot of people woke up to it until Sandy Hook.
Yeah. I think that actually Sandy Hook was almost a watershed event because there were so many highly questionable things about that event. You know, when
Absolutely.
I when
Absolutely.
I saw the what was the couple's name? The ones that were yapping with
McDonald's.
propaganders.
Yeah,
Yeah, them, the
McDonald's.
McDonald's, and I'm sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, people do grieve differently. However,
Yeah,
to have both parents smiling and laughing and just
yeah.
yucking it up about the probabilities of that approach zero if it was a real event.
And now, and it's less than 4 days. I mean, you'd be on the,
Yes,
you couldn't get me off the floor. It's like,
exactly, exactly.
and
You
she
know, I
just spouts out all this crap about like they're all up there in heaven together and they're with their teacher and there's angels smiling on us all. You're like, what?
yeah, that is not how any normal mother would
Yeah,
uh, react to the death of a beloved child. I can tell you, if I lost my daughter, I'd be a total wreck.
yeah,
Total wreck.
yeah, absolutely.
And talk to the media? Screw that.
Absolutely. So, see, these were the differences that I had to point out too, that no one was ready for that for a very long time in Dunblane,
Right.
which tells well, that's, when you say everybody grieves differently, which is always the argument, right? But not everybody
Yep.
grieves the same. These people in Sandy
True.
Hook were all friggin' smiling, all talking about their children being in heaven. There was a huge religious element to that,
Yep.
always talking about angels and heaven, and angels was bandied about a lot in Dunblane, which was one of the similarities as well. But I mean, sure, you could conclude the same thing because they're children and they've been horribly killed, but wow.
Yep. It's amazing
Yeah. So
that
yeah, I mean, my first channel had nearly 4,000 subscribers.
still want to said
Say again?
having some difficulties with my connection at the moment. Hopefully, I will
Okay.
hear what you just said soon.
Okay.
It goes up and down. Sometimes fine, and then all of a sudden my CPU will go to 100% for no reason. And
Wow.
yeah, like I said, they mess with me, and I don't consent to it. But what am I gonna do?
At the moment, until we find new platforms, it's very difficult to stream live, I think, you know?
Yeah, well, especially if as seems to be the case, they are stepping in and monkeying with people.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. I wonder if that's why I had such, I went through Google to find a video editor, like something that I could
Mhm.
try for free just to get this video out there. And I got ripped off and conned, and it was like all Google searches. And they know everything that we do, right? They know
Yep,
everything, every move we
yep.
make, everything that we say. It's just, I don't know if you've heard of the channel Nicholson 1968.
Yes.
Did you see his latest video about, about the internet and about Google and about the data that they're gathering? And it's fantastic. It's well worth it. I think it's called something like Stare at the Screen, My Pretties, or something like that.
Okay, okay.
Big shout
I'll check
out
it
to his
out.
work. Amazing video maker, amazing
Well, thank you.
filmmaker. Yeah.
So, at any rate, um, I was wondering if uh, you had any thoughts about the gun control issue relative to the protecting oneself from tyranny.
Well, we don't have such a foundation here as the Second Amendment. But I can tell you that since gun control in 1997 it came about, our knife crime has skyrocketed.
Exploded.
Yeah. So who is it that kills people? Who is it? Is it the gun?
Well, obviously it's the guns. It's the guns, right?
Well, if it was the guns, it has to be the knives. They're all getting out the drawers by
But
themselves and
they are. They are killing
plunging
people all
themselves
on their
into
own.
people's chests and things. You know?
Seriously. So,
I mean, I understand. I have no experience with guns in my life. So we never really had a gun culture. All we did by banning them is put them in the hands of criminals.
yep.
You know,
Yep.
I understand the argument that comes from you guys, even without having a life experience with guns. You know, it's like my dad had a pellet gun and it was to kill pigeons or a cat, you know, and it was like a tool that was kept in
Right. Well,
it,
it's a tool. It just depends on whose hands it's in, how it's
absolutely.
used. I mean, obviously knives are tools too.
Yes, I think they're supposed to be for cutting food. I'm not sure, but
Generally speaking, generally
generally
speaking.
speaking.
Yes, indeed.
Wow. But yeah, I mean,
All
if
right.
people
Well,
want to kill each other, they're going to find a way, right?
of course. I mean, we should ban hands. People strangle each other, right? Everybody go into the hospital and have your hands hacked off so you don't strangle somebody.
Yeah, and take the feet as well, just in case you stomp someone to death in
Oh,
a
that's
crowded
true.
area.
That's
Yeah.
true. We gotta get rid of feet. Hands and feet. Just get rid of them. And
Can
I
you
don't know.
can you imagine the
Maybe we should.
scenario?
Yes. Maybe we should also have everybody's teeth pulled in case you bite somebody to death.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I suppose that it could
Hey,
happen. It could happen.
if you bite them at the jugular, if you bite them,
Oh,
they're going to bleed out, right? So I'm thinking, yeah, let's
that's
do
right.
that. Yeah.
Yep. Gotta get rid of got those teeth and hands and feet and that might handle all the deaths that are caused.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't reduce
You
the national death rate in America, for example, by not getting people addicted to pharmaceutical drugs or anything like that, right? That wouldn't be sensible to stop prescribing this shit, right?
you are breaking up just a little bit
Okay.
because my computer is in that mode again. It's on and off, you know, it'll run at 100% and then it'll start bouncing and all of a sudden it'll hit 100%, start tweaking.
Yeah,
sound wise.
I can hear how broken up you're coming across when that happens too. I don't know how we're sounding out there, but
well, you're sounding pretty good to me, except when that happens. But usually, you'll come out just fine on the actual vid that is made from this hangout at the end.
okay.
Usually,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just me that keeps cutting out. I'm curious. I noticed that you use the imagery from My Pet Goat too,
mm-hmm.
and I'm wondering, why did you select that particular piece to draw your imagery from?
The one I'm currently using.
Well, I noticed that on an interview that you put up on your channel, they used the blonde girl.
Yeah, Lily. Lily. is the character.
And yeah, and here you have the apple. So
the apple was what Lily dropped.
right.
And Lily, some people surmise, of course, the creator, Heliofont, he doesn't tell you what it's about. It's up for interpretation, which is kind of beautiful, in itself. And there was some surmising and some theory around Lily being Grace McDonald from Sandy Hook. And then,
I hadn't heard that, but maybe.
I heard that before I took the image for my channel art. But then when I got banned for the 5th time from YouTube, I thought, well, that's the apple dropped, right? It's like, it's over.
Yep.
It's over for me on this platform. It's just, it's not over for our voices, hopefully, but it's over for mainstream platforms like YouTube.
Yeah, it's definitely, YouTube is cutting off their nose to spite their face, I think.
Yeah. Do you know why I think it might be happening?
The
youth are not watching TV. The youth are looking for their news online on big platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Yep. So they don't want our voices in the mix. They want one story and no dialogue. That's it.
Absolutely. I can't argue with that in the least.
They don't want questioning minds and alternative theories put forth where they might find them. I couldn't believe, after I got banned for the last time, I couldn't believe that I did a search for Sandy Hook and there was nothing but CNN, ABC, BBC, CBC.
Yeah, results. All the mainstream media outlets that are owned by the same people that own most of this planet.
Yes, absolutely. Psychopaths, as you call them.
Well, it's I call them that because their behavior is psychopathic.
Absolutely. No, it's true.
So, I'm guessing that's what they are.
I think they're either psychopaths or they are bribed. They get themselves into a position of power. They compromise themselves in some way, and then they own these people for life.
Oh yeah. There's, the problem that we have, I don't know if you're all that familiar with the work I'm doing, but the problem that we have is money. And because if you didn't have money, nobody would have power over others beyond any personal charismatic power that they might have, which really only goes a very short way.
Well, it does. It only goes insofar as our interactions with one another do. Like you can get people like that online, but it doesn't take anything away from you for them to behave that way. They're not making laws or, right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no, I haven't watched your series yet. I'm so sorry. I will do. My life is just very full. It's just crazy full at the moment.
I know. I noticed a comment in the chat. We Are Free says bartering over money any day, and I'm saying no need to barter, even no need to trade, no need for work exchange, no shells, no beads, no sticks notched and split, no coins, no bills, no electronic bits, just no accounting for our human energy. Yeah. Which is what all those do. True. It says, did you account for your energy? Do you have something to show for your energy? And,
Yeah.
is it worth something? And I don't want to do that anymore. It's not necessary. There have been a very few societies on our planet that have lived in abundance where they didn't have to struggle to survive. And do you know that all of them were peaceful, loving,
And
creative,
do you know
and
all of
problem
them were wiped out as
Go
well?
ahead.
All of
I'm
them were
sorry.
wiped out as well.
Oh well, yeah. The
Indigenous.
hegemony, the
Yeah.
hegemony came in and wiped them out. Yes,
Yeah.
they did. And so I'm trying to wipe out the hegemony, I guess.
Don't do it
Anyway, let's
alone.
let's get back to your work. Now, you had said something. I mean, we have in the the promo, even though it's on the wrong for the wrong channel tonight. Uh, we have in the promo stuff about the pedocracy. Is that how you would say it?
Pedocracy, yeah. It's
Yeah.
basically the connection between power and pedophilia. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's no accident in my lifetime anyway, like growing up 80s, 90s and seeing the revelations, first of all, in the Roman Catholic Church, First of all,
Mm-hmm.
people speaking out about that at last, when it had gone on for so long. And then what, fast forward to 2018, and where can you not find it, basically?
Yeah, really.
You know? It's like I first thought it was a UK thing and until I started learning and speaking to people from all over the world. And where can you not find this? And why is it always so prevalent amongst people who have power,
Yeah, it's definitely something that belongs in that upper echelon group more than down here in us with us peons.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to find the connection there, between the Jews, the Vatican, and oh, sorry, I shouldn't say the Jews. I should say the Ashkenazim.
Or we call them the Smurfs because they're bluish, or at least rhyme with bluish.
Oh, okay.
So the
Okay.
Smurf.
Well, the bluish, but I've already said the fated word anyway. So,
Well, that's okay. That's okay. we'll,
the Vatican
by.
and the elite politicians, the monarchy. It's everywhere. Across these powerful things, and they're all it's all connected to Freemasonry as well. I mean, for example, the pedophile alleged shooter in the Dunblane massacre was a Freemason, and so was his father, who outlived him right up until his death.
Yeah.
And then in 2003, you have a man called Lord Burton, and I don't know if you're familiar with the House of Lords in the UK.
Oh, vaguely.
It's no, it's basically old white men who have just been, and a few token blacks in there, and some women now as well, who are the elite. Basically, they've worked their way up in the ranks, all Freemasons. And that Lord Burton came out and said that Thomas Hamilton, the alleged shooter in Dunblane, was directly linked to a secret society in Edinburgh called the Speculative Society, and that's the Freemasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Well,
he was sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, I think that the Freemasonry started out with the right idea somewhere along the line, and
Yeah.
and was infiltrated and then overtaken. And down at the lower ranks, a lot of people just don't really get it, if you know what
Absolutely.
I mean.
I would agree with
They think they're there for good works and
that.
helping people and so on and so forth. But when you get into the higher ranks of this organization, you start seeing things that are not pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. But they want the money of the middleman as well. Remember that. So they give him some sort of secrecy and honor, right? For being
Yep.
a good businessman in your town, or you know, we had Masonic halls all over where I grew up, all over. Wow. And my dad
Yep.
my dad would joke about the secret handshakes, you know. He'd be like because he wasn't a rich man, but he was a prominent man because in our small town, because of his job as chief photographer of the newspaper, you know. And
Right.
so people knew him. So people would assume maybe that he was a Freemason, and then they'd shake his hand and do something really strange, like scratch his palm, and he'd be like, "Oh God."
Like, what's this?
Yeah. I think he knew what it was. Then he'd joke and he'd come home and do it with me, and we'd like twiddle our legs around one another like this secret handshake, you know.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
tell
there.
us.
Sorry, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's the level thing is works in all secret societies, doesn't it? It's like it's a
Mm-hmm.
need to know basis. It's a need to know basis, and that's why
Exactly.
something like Sandy Hook been could have happened as a complete hoax, because you wouldn't have to tell very many people, you know?
True.
It's like, yeah.
Very true. And when you have
Yeah.
people that are signed under oaths and non-disclosure agreements and all of that,
Hmm.
it's really pretty easy to control what's going on
Yeah.
in these fake events.
And if you pull them from the lower ranks of the Freemasons, you know, for example, you could tell them they're doing something really important for their country, you know? It's like,
Right.
yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, it's kind of a crazy world we are discovering that we live in. You know, when I was little, it
Absolutely.
seemed so reasonable, except I kept looking around going, if they're getting all that money in taxes, where is it? Why are there people starving and they're nitpicky about giving out any kind of benefits, but
Yep.
hauling in just gazillions of energy accounting tokens.
Yeah, it's
And
pseudo austerity, as it is over here.
yes,
Yeah. Like, we don't
yep,
have the money. We have to raise it through charities. We have to give the kids a playground by crowdfunding. Why? Why? You
yep.
know?
It's like the vast bulk of our planet's wealth go to very few on this planet. I
Yeah.
mean, just an amount of the planet's wealth is with them,
Hmm.
and yet clearly there's nothing going on that's that suggests that they about humans,
Yes, exactly.
which which is a psychopathic trait.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. They walk among us too, though. They're not just elite. I mean, yeah, I've met a few
yeah.
psychopaths in my time.
Oh yeah. Well, it turns out that about 1% of the human is genetically psychopathic. There is
Yeah. Yeah.
no way to rehabilitate them. There
Yeah.
is no way to get them to feel these things. They cannot. They
No.
are genetically incapable.
Absolutely.
Then
And
you have your second. Go ahead.
I was probably just going to say what you were going to say. It's about 5% of our population that have cluster B personality
Yes.
disorders.
Well, there's about 5% that are secondary psychopaths, and
Mm-hmm.
those are created by severe abuse,
Yeah.
mind control,
Yeah.
and severe indoctrination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Comes
these
that
people learn how to turn their feelings off.
they do. It comes from
And
trauma. It comes
yes,
from trauma. Yeah.
yep.
And
So,
they can't change either, in my humble opinion.
well, I'm going to say that there is some
Slight.
marginal possibility that any given one might be able to be rehabilitated. But overall, once they learn to turn them off, they are not very good at learning to turn them back on.
I know. And the problem with seeking help, like for example, narcissism is grossly misdiagnosed as bipolar disorder. And the only reason for that is that a narcissist will lie to a therapist and fool them, and
Yep,
they're good at it. They're really good at it. So they
yep,
walk away with another diagnosis, which,
absolutely. There's, the mental health diagnoses are mostly bunk, in my opinion.
yeah, and I just want to clarify, I don't mean that everyone who's diagnosed with bipolar is a narcissist or a psychopath.
Right, right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you have some people who really have these problems, but
Mhm.
then you have people who can fake them
Yeah, you
and
really
do
do.
so for their advantage.
Yeah, and the behavior of someone without a conscience can mimic a lot of
Yes,
diagnoses, you know.
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
So, so we've talked a bit about the motive for the school shootings.
Mm-hmm.
What what are your thoughts on the motives?
Well, the deeper you get into Sandy Hook, for example, it's like I started asking, was it really about guns? At one point, I thought, is this more about mental health, maybe, and the pharmaceutical companies, or is it all linked?
Well, here my thought on that is yes, it's about guns through the mental health avenue,
Yeah,
because
possibly. Yeah.
the way I've got it worked is they don't think that they can just outright say, no, Americans, you can't have any guns anymore, because there's just a great number of us
Mm-hmm.
who are like, out of my cold dead hands, right?
Yeah, but
So they're going about it in a back way sort of fashion, where
possibly. Yeah.
once they gain control of the ability to tell you whether you may have a gun or not, and they give you a test,
Mm-hmm.
here, take this test, and if they see things in you, in your opinions, in your views that they
Yeah.
don't like, they can declare it mentally ill and you don't get a gun.
Absolutely.
If you don't toe the if you don't toe their line, then you're mentally ill and you can't have a gun. If you're their tail end, well, God, not mentally ill, you can have. So,
So, and I'll just briefly to expand on your question regarding what's the motive. In Dunblane, there's a beautiful comment left under my video one time, and this person, she talked about it being threefold. Number one, gun control. You know. Number two, if Thomas Hamilton was providing images to the elite for pedophilic purposes, that gets rid of him, right?
Right.
And number three, and I don't know if you're aware of this, having watched some of my work, Dunblane police files are locked away for 100 years. 100 years.
Yeah, I caught that on the vid that I was watching there.
So therefore, that protects a lot of people who will be very dead by then, right?
Exactly.
So the agenda was, it's perfect. He was the perfect patsy. Everybody hated him already, you know? It's like, but that's what I see was the motive over here. But yeah, I mean, that makes so much sense what you're saying in terms of if they put these things in place, they know they can't just ban guns in the US, right? They have to do it step by step by step.
Yep, incrementally. And you know, eventually they'll probably be able to just ban them all, but it really won't matter if they can just ban each person based on their ideologies and perspectives.
Yeah, true, true.
So yeah, I tell you, it's a challenge in this world. So
it's a challenge when our rights are being stripped away so methodically and obviously, intensely. Yeah,
yes. So you were doing a vid on this guy, the comedian, right?
Yeah, Mark Meekin.
That did a silly little video and is said to have been arrested. And I'm watching that video and I notice some of the people that pop in telling everybody about it. And we have Alex Jones, and I'm going, why is he all over this?
Exactly, that makes me want to know as well. But you notice how he keeps giving us like they're going to shut my YouTube channel down tomorrow. I mean, excuse me, when have you ever been warned by YouTube and given 24 hours to collect your belongings? You know, you
really?
don't get that. You just sign up. You just sign in one day and you've got like a pink slip and you're out, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but there was a few other Paul Joseph
Joseph Watson. I saw him in there. And there was at least one other, and I can't remember who, but I went, So I'm pondering whether this isn't in some way a psychological operation. I don't know.
Well, you could
I
say
really
that,
don't know.
He's not a truther. He's not a truther. He's a gamer. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but
it's like
he's surely being used in what appears to be some agenda, irrespective of him being just a gamer.
Well, my argument for that would be, well, I don't know, obviously, but my argument for that would be that he didn't promote these platforms. They told his story, and the main person that he chose to sit down with is Tommy Robinson, who is going through absolute hell censorship himself at the moment, which is why they connected with one another, because they're in the UK. You know, I don't know if you know who Tommy Robinson is.
I'm sorry, say again. I'm at the 100% mark again. So.
Okay. I don't know if you know who Tommy Robinson is.
Tommy Robinson. It rings a very well.
Well, most recently, he is.
Say that I know.
His politics are right of center, and he lives in England, and he was part of a quite extreme right-wing group at one point. But his main problem, well, his main issue that he's outspoken about is immigration in England. For England, that's a real problem there. So, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, could you say that again? What was he? Because it cut out on me just as you said that.
So his politics are kind of right of center, and his main speaking point at the moment is about immigration, much like the US. You know, it's not it's not the same here in Scotland. It might become the same, but at the moment there's only 5 million of us. You know, and we need immigration. You know, to get the work done, man. You know, it's like, but so there are different things going on. But someone from America tried to come and interview Tommy Robinson, and just for that reason, they were arrested and jailed overnight in the UK. When they landed, when their plane landed, they were not allowed to enter the UK. They had to. They spent the night, and yeah, exactly. So that's how he's hitting the sort of freedom of speech stuff at the moment. And so he linked up with this YouTuber to get his story. I think he'd been following him for 2 years, but he's not just been arrested, he's actually been convicted in a Scottish court of law 3 days ago.
Convicted of what?
Hate speech.
Well, hate speech. Now, my problem with hate speech is that when I say something, unless it's slanderous or libelous or false accusations, you know, that sort of thing, when I say something, it's my opinion. Exactly. And if I say something and you choose to feel offended over it, that's on you, not me.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's like the feelings police, right?
I mean, really, the feelings police. I love it.
We're not allowed to offend anybody anymore. Your rights will be taken from you if the other person chooses to be offended,
to feel poorly about what you've said.
Exactly. Someone might come up to me and say something about the fact that I'm a woman. It might be derogatory. I swear to God, if I took that on every time, where would I be?
Yes.
You know?
Well, yeah. You know, I've had plenty of people make such comments to me, and I sit there and realize I have a choice on how to think about what they just said.
Exactly.
You know, I could think, oh my gosh, it's horrible what they said. I'm so hurt.
Yeah,
or I can say to myself,
I'm going to the police. I'm going to get you arrested.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the police and get them arrested. Or I can think to myself, who cares what that jerk thinks?
Exactly.
I know I'm cool, and whatever they have to say about me is irrelevant. And you know what? When I think that, I feel better.
Yeah, where do we draw the line, though? I wasn't offended by that. Oh, well, it's not a crime, you know? But actually, my neighbor up the street was really offended. Oh, well, now it is a crime then, right?
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, this man was convicted under the 2003 UK Communications Act, which includes hate speech. Now, what the video he did, he taught his girlfriend's dog to do a Sikh Heil, basically.
Yes.
In response to him saying the words, "Gas the blues." How about I say that, right? Gas the blues.
The Smurfs.
The Smurfs, yeah. Gas the Smurfs, and the dog would go Sikh Heil. Now, hello, that's funny. It may not be funny to everybody, but it's not meant offensively. he even said it himself at the beginning of the video, which is like a huge disclaimer in my opinion. He was saying, my girlfriend thinks her dog is so incredibly cute and I'm sick of her going on about it. I decided to make her dog into the worst thing I could ever think of, which was a Nazi.
Right.
Oh my God. This is mad. And this man's allegedly been through 2 years of hell, right? Lawyers.
Yep.
And what the hell? And then found guilty.
Well,
do you know what he faces up to a year in prison, by the way. He's facing up to a year in prison for that.
That's just Looney Tunes. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy. Anyway,
you know,
sorry.
Me, I would start right at the beginning. As soon as somebody came and tried to lay a hand on me, I'd tell them, I'll be happy to go with you if you prove I'm subject. Now, I've withdrawn consent from that whole system. So, please prove that I am subject. And if you prove that I am subject, I'll be happy to go with you.
I've heard you talk about that before.
Yeah, don't want to create controversy. I will be happy to do it, but they've got to prove that I'm subject first.
Absolutely. And they'll just say, if you were over here, they would just say, get in the van.
Well, I realize that they will bully me. Okay, at this point, they will bully me. But when, say, 70-80% of us are doing the same thing, they won't have any power. They can't handle that large group. I mean, it just won't happen. They can't go up and nick everybody, 70% of everybody.
True. If that's the importance of unity, in our behavior against tyranny, because that's what we're facing.
Absolutely.
If a policeman approached me or arrested me for whatever unjustly, or actually even justly, right? I would have one word to say and nothing else, and that would be lawyer, and I'd say it repeatedly. Nothing else would be said out of my mouth.
I would not say lawyer because I do not consent to the legal system. I do not consent to the hierarchical control mind system.
I'm not saying I do either. I'm saying I would not talk. It's basically.
Well, yeah, I would say I would, if they ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer that if you prove I'm subject. If they tell me to do something, I'll be happy to do that if you prove I'm subject. And then when they say, well, we'll prove you're subject, as they lift their fist or grab me, I'll say, hey, I don't dispute you can prove that you're bullies.
Yes.
I don't need proof that you can be a bully.
Yeah.
By all means. And then if they might haul me off and force me into a cell. And all the while, I will just not be answering any questions and giving them my spiel. And then eventually, when they drag me against my will into a court, then the judge gets to hear that. I'll be happy to answer that if you prove I'm subject. I don't consent to this whole system. And that's all I'd give them from start to finish.
Yeah.
And
God
they may continue to bully me, but I will make that stand.
That would be interesting if everyone did that, right? It's like, wow.
Well, if lots of people were willing to do that, pretty soon they'd have to give up.
That's power right there, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Autonomy.
So, that's what I'm trying to introduce to people. We can do that. Now, yeah, they can, for the first brave few, high probability they will prove that they can be bullies, okay? High
Yeah.
probability. But the more of us that get on board with that, the better it is. That better chance that they'll just leave us alone. But I'm thinking that once you get into court, you're not playing their game. And
No.
if you're not playing their game, they tend to just boot you out.
Well, I don't know
It's
about
when you
that.
start playing their games with their and what when you make it clear that you are not consenting to the thing that you have been bullied into being there.
It's like
I
not.
think it's get rid of you. Just
It's
say go away.
it's
And
like.
in fact, I'd say, go ahead.
Can you imagine playing table tennis with someone who refuses to pick up the bat? You know, you'd just be hitting it across the table and going and picking it up and then hitting it across the table. That's kind of an analogy of what you're saying. Like, you don't play the game, their game.
Exactly. Don't play the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's conceivable that we could have some problems with the bullies in this world, but overall, I believe that they don't have power over you in that court if you're non-consenting. I really think that. That seems
I
to be
believe
the
that
case.
wholeheartedly. Yeah.
So that's why when you say to them, how long do you think is reasonable for me to give you to prove I'm subject? An hour? Well,
Yeah.
if you haven't proven it in an hour, I'm walking out of here freely.
You know, there's a beautiful parable, and I can't tell you where I got it from, but it and I can't say that I could do this, but say eventually, you know, what you're saying is so true. They don't have autonomy unless you give it. And there's a saying that goes, if you need to be out of prison to be free, then you are a prisoner indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's the mindset that you're talking about.
Yep.
It's like, they can put you in prison, but they can't ever take your human spirit. That's what I
That's true.
feel.
That's
Yeah.
true.
It's irreplaceable, but they can try and break it down as well. But you know, it's pretty strong, and people have done amazing things that they didn't ever think they would be capable of through
True.
the human spirit, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, have you encountered any more interesting stuff along the way here? Because I will be honest, I had a list of questions, but I'm really bad at thinking of questions to ask. So, so we've
Well,
gone through most of them.
okay, well, what were the three subjects that we said we would? What were the three things that I gave you? It was pedocracy, censorship, and the mass
And
shootings. Yeah.
yep. And we've dealt
The Catholic.
with all three so far, but we can go deeper.
We didn't talk much about. Do you remember me saying I was starting a new project, and it was my father's story, and
Right.
I can't start it because I'm not going to put it on YouTube, but B, as you know, I don't have the video editing equipment at the moment. But this story came out about the mass graves that they're finding in Catholic orphanages around
Right.
the West. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, well, my father was directly involved with that in 2003. They were the ones that found it, 152 in an unmarked grave, 152 children, unaccounted for. Well, actually, they were accounted for, but they didn't have any burial records. So they discovered they were in a mass grave. And in 2004, they held the official funeral for those children. Now, my dad grew up in a Catholic orphanage, and he
Wow.
had a hellish time, yeah. And it was the orphanage that he grew up in that they found the first mass grave, and him and two other men found it. But
Wow.
they only accounted for 152. It has since gone up to over 400. There's over
Gee.
400 kids dumped in the corner of a graveyard just 100 yards away from the beautiful graves of the nuns who were buried there. You know, the lovely, beautiful, gold embossed, well-kept graves. And now this is an anomaly that's happening in Ireland. Over 800 in a cesspit found there on the grounds of a convent, orphanage, workhouse, you know.
Jeez.
Canada, Spain, same thing. I mean, I'm sure there's more to come with this. It's just all coming out long after these people have died, you know. I know for one that
Yep.
what the nuns did to my father, and I'll just tell you a wee brief part of his story. Basically, his mother died in childbirth. She was 36 years old. He was 4 years old. His sister was 2. There was no one to raise them. And as was very common on those days, they went to the orphanage, the Catholic orphanage, run by the Sisters of Charity, or No Charity, as he would call them. He didn't know he was going there. He was told he was getting taken to the seaside for a day out, and he knew that the train was going the wrong way, even at that young age. Then he arrived at the orphanage, and you ought to see these nuns and their habits. They're horrific, you know. It's just like they've got these Dutch habits and big long dresses, and it must have been terrifying for a 4-year-old boy, you know. Anyway,
Yeah, really.
Yeah. He was separated from his sister because boys were separated from girls. He was put in a dormitory with 200 other boys. The beds were stacked, one upon
Wow.
another. Yeah. He's 4 years old. He's just lost his mother. He's in a strange place. He doesn't know what the hell's happening to him. And like 4-year-olds do, he wet the bed. Yeah. As would be expected from a frightened child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
The nuns went round the beds every night, checking for bedwetters by shoving their hands under the mattresses. They found that my father had wet the bed. They dragged him from the bed, filled a bath full of cold water, and tried to drown him. Held his head under until near drowning, and this was to cure him of that.
Wow. Oh
And
my
that was
God.
horrific, right? And that was his life for 11 years. And although my dad did really well, I mean, most of these people ended up alcoholics, you know, and homeless often. My dad did really well. It was trauma. It was just trauma.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
And you pass that on
Jeez.
from generation to generation. You carry that, you feed it to your children. Your children feeds it to their children. You know, so the sins of the fathers, or in this case, the mothers, you know, the
Right.
women. Anyway, it's like all sorts of stuff has come out about that now. And my dad, I take you up to the day in 2004 of the official funeral for these children who were thrown into unmarked graves. He was the one that wrote the poem for the headstone to commemorate them. And all that week before the funeral happened, he was saying to me, I'm so scared that I cry. You know, I don't know if I can say this poem without crying. And
Oh,
I'd be
yeah.
like, well, yeah, I mean, well, that's okay to cry, right? But he wanted to be able to
Absolutely.
deliver it. He managed to get through that day. He was 67 years old. He was a very fit man. He never smoked. He never drank. The day before, he cycled a 16-mile round trip, and 48 hours after that funeral, he was dead. He dropped
Wow.
dead. Yeah. Not of a heart attack, of an aortic aneurysm, which means he basically worried himself to death. The anxiety.
Oh, how
You
sad.
know? Yeah, it was, but it was kind of like poetic as well, in a way, you know, in terms of, I don't think people with such deep trauma can always heal in one lifetime or in this lifetime. You know, I think, I don't know what your beliefs are, but I just had this feeling he had to move on to something else in order to heal, you
Right.
know? Yeah.
Right.
And he leaves a legacy, right? He worked really hard helping that group to uncover these horrific deeds, you know, and they
Mm-hmm.
actually had created what took place just last year and into this year, which was the Scottish Institutional Child Abuse Inquiry, you know. And we heard a lot of truths come out from that. People who were beaten, raped, murdered as children, killed, you know, people who had brothers they never heard of again in the orphanages and in care homes. Just the most horrific stuff. And
Yeah,
I
you
went looking for something to back this up. Like, where did all this come from? And I found out there was a document issued under papal law, canon law. So that's the Vatican law, because they're a principality of their own in Italy. And that's a whole other story, because they made a deal with Mussolini, you know, in order to get that in the 1930s. If they let him get into power, he would deem them a principality, so they're not even part of Italy. They are their own country, basically, so they can make up all the laws
right.
and any laws that they want. And they issued a document called Cremens Solicitationis, and it's basically states, it's written in Latin. It was 1922, and it was given to every archbishop in the world. And it basically states, we know there's pedophiles among our clergy. We know there's violence among our clergy. We know there's rape among our clergy. We know there's homosexuality, at the time was illegal. And we know there's
Mm-hmm.
zoophilia. I actually had to look that one up. Zoophilia, which is, you know, animals, you can imagine. So
Yes,
it,
yes. Bestiality is what the
yeah,
common.
they called it zoophilia at the time. And basically it says, do not report these to the local authorities, to any authority other than the Vatican. And we will deal with it in-house, basically.
Yep.
And that was reinforced in Vatican II, which, if you ask me, was a total whitewash load of crap. But, you know, it was supposed to open the doors and the windows of the church, la la la. You know, what did it open the church to? I don't know, more pedophiles. And we all know that all they did with these people is move them around. They didn't get
Yes.
yes, town to
Yeah.
town to town.
You got caught here. We'll just stick you over there.
Exactly. Yeah, like we'll move you 200 miles away where nobody knows you, and you can do the same all over again
Yep.
to unsuspecting parents and children, right? Wow. Wow.
It's amazing that such things happen on our planet. You know,
I
I'm
know.
aghast.
I
I'm
know.
aghast.
I don't know how much more would shock me now, you know, in terms of what I find
Really?
out. I
Yeah.
probably still could be, I mean, you know.
Yeah, I figured there might be a thing or two, but I'm going to guess I probably have a good 98, 99% of it.
Yes.
You know?
Please,
It's
no
like
more. God.
it's like I can't envision something that is something that would show up. I just can't envision it.
Yeah.
Now these are the things that are happening are things I could envision.
True.
And to
Yeah.
to discover that I they're happening whether I envision them or not is sort of creepy.
I don't know that I did envision, like, the story of Tuam in Ireland, 800 kids remains thrown into a cesspit and then covered up, and then you'll never guess what they built on top of it, right? You'll
A
never
church?
guess. A playground, a children's
Oh,
playground.
that's right. That's right. I remember seeing that. Yeah. Oh, that's just so
That's disgusting, right? It's just abhorrent.
hideous. Yes.
Yeah.
Mocking us. They
Yeah.
mock us. Every turn they can mock us at.
Under the name of what? Supposed Christianity,
Yep.
supposed love, charity, looking after people, caring for people. There was none of that for these
Nope.
children. Nothing. Oh my God. And
It's really sad.
it's like, I shared that video about Tuam, and I put that famous quote from Matthew, if you cause one of these little ones to stumble, it is better for you that you hang a millstone around your neck and throw yourself into the sea.
Yep.
It's like, and then we had a nun testifying at the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry. She got to do it behind a screen because she's still a nun, even though she's accused of heinous crimes, she gets to hide her face from the public in our Scottish Parliament. She gets to say it behind a screen, and she said, this orphan, none of this is true. This orphanage was a very happy place. It was lovely. I was like, what?
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
she
You know,
herself was accused of heinous things, and I'm thinking, to your death, are you going to lie like that for the Vatican, for these psychopaths? Wow,
so it's really sad.
really horrific.
Yep.
Anyway, karma will
Yep.
get them. So yeah, I
What
don't know. Do you want
is
to?
there to talk about?
Is there anybody asking anything in the chat room, or I'm not looking because it's interfering with?
Well, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't seen anything in caps. Uh, there's some interests that are like they're saying. Somebody here said something to the effect that you're full of it, and because it was entirely hoaxed in Dunblane, but I really don't think so, because I can see the motive for it,
That, yeah, I can
and
too. And
and I
that
can also tell the difference between the parents who are trying to keep it together and
and people
our
who have
our
actual
favorite little
feelings.
parents. Yeah, our favorite little parents who are just like la di da, my child just died a couple of days
Yeah.
ago, and it's just so she's so happy up there. It's like, oh no, that ain't
I mean,
real.
it's a fair comment. It's a fair opinion to have, and if you have it, fine. But don't tell me I'm full of it, okay? That's what I object to. It's like people coming onto my channel and saying things like that. You're allowed to disagree, absolutely. I have no right to make, I'm just sharing my opinion. I'm not telling you that I'm not insulting you because you say it's a hoax. If you think it's a hoax, go for it. Think what you like. That's what this is about. But don't tell me that I'm full of it when I've done the research and I have connections and I'm just sharing what I know.
What
That's
you've
it.
experienced,
What I've
right?
experienced and what I know to be true. And it's up to you whether you believe it or not. But
Right.
there's a discussion to have, right? And comments like that, you're full of it, stops all discussion, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. I have no issues with people telling me that they disagree with my opinions.
Mm-hmm.
But to then say, something that some ad hominem or insult, to what purpose?
Yeah,
Why?
exactly.
It
I
can't develop things into a positive direction, I'm thinking.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Sometimes
at any rate,
you can disarm someone by saying,
um,
like,
I
I
really wish I had my cohorts here because I'm sure they have other questions that they would have liked to have asked
I
if they
know
were
it's
here
a
this
shame.
evening.
It's a shame. Yeah.
Um, do you personally think that there is any solution that you've
Uh,
thought of?
I, the only thing that I've thought of
Okay,
is
hang on.
yeah.
I am seeing that you are talking and I am not hearing you.
Oh, really?
Let me try something here. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm not
Yeah.
hearing you at all. I don't know
I'll
whose
type.
end it's on. I still can't hear you. Let me drop out and come right back in, and we will see if we can solve this problem. Oh, it's not going to let me. Oh, that's a joy. Well, this isn't going to get very far if I can't hear you.
Can you hear me
Okay,
now?
you can hear me. I cannot hear you.
Oh,
And I don't know
wow.
what the problem is. Maybe if you dropped out and then came back in. Just hang
Okay.
up and come back in.
Okay.
Well, gotta love this platform, I tell you. It's just such a thrill. Well, thank you guys for joining into the chat room here, listening in. I appreciate it. Pam and Sons and Daughters and Operation Chaos. And let's see, who else have I seen here? I mentioned earlier. Four World Peas. Yay! Blue Blood. Glad to see you here. I don't know where she is, and if she doesn't show up real soon, I will presume that back in for some reason,
Hey.
and we'll just have to end it pretty much at that for this last, possibly last. But possibly last edition. Conspiracy or not, here we come. So, come on. Oh, here she
Hey.
comes. Is she in again?
Can you hear me?
Say something.
I'm speaking.
I see that it's my end
Speaking.
and they're messing with me. Let me see. Let me see. Yeah, it's not letting me. Let me try something else. Okay, I'm going to just close my window and again that works, and keep talking till the hangout
Hey.
goes away.
Can you
But
hear
I
me? Can
should
you
be
hear
able to
me?
come back in. We'll try it. Okay, let's see if I can hear something now.
Hello.
Nope.
No. Oh, I'm talking, so I don't know what to do.
This is not working. That is weird. I mean, really weird. I've never had this problem in a Hangout before. I just don't know what to do here. Can you guys hear Photo? Say something in the chat if you can hear
Hey,
Photo.
can you hear me in the chat?
I can sit here and just let you talk.
Can they hear me?
Oh, this is crazy. Wait a minute. I think I found the problem.
Okay.
Hang on. Hang on. I found the problem. Okay, say something now.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can. Okay, my computer, yes, it's my computer. For sometimes it turns my volume all the way down to zero,
Without
just
you?
out of the blue.
What?
So I got to thinking, well, let me just check to see where it said set, and I went 0%. No wonder I can't hear anything.
So, could everybody else hear me? I
Oh
thought
yeah,
I
I'm
was
sure
cut
they could
off.
hear you, and they can hear me. Yeah, Pam, there's going to be an echo until things get happy and resettled. Okay, so we have solved the problem. Yay. Where were we?
You were saying, did I have any solutions?
Yes. Yes,
Well,
that's where
what
we were.
I was going to say is in terms of evolution, I think we are going to get things are going to get worse before they're going to get better, in my opinion, because there's more people, for example, in my own community who are evolved and like-minded or open-minded even, you know, and emotionally intelligent, you know. It's just so far from where we've come. Like, I see people evolving all the time, yet I also see this pull against it, you know. And I think that's what's going on
Yep.
when things seem to get worse. But I think we're fighting a spiritual war, basically. I think our consciousness has got to get higher. And I don't think it's going to be solved through the human thinking mind. I think it's beyond that. But that's something that will happen anyway to humanity, I think. That's just my opinion. And I'm talking on a spiritual level, I suppose. Can you hear me? Are you frozen now? Oh no.
No, I agree to a great extent
You're
on that.
you're totally cutting out.
You, but uh, it's at 100%.
I,
um,
yeah, you're completely breaking up. It's like you go silent. You've gone completely silent now.
yeah, I'm breaking up. I'm pretty sure. At some point, it will fix itself for a little while.
Yeah.
Any moment now.
Hey, well, listen, it's getting quite late here for me anyway,
You're
so
well. Oh.
and we'll come back together when there's a oh, I see that CPU at 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, if it's getting late, and since I really I think we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah, it was good.
And questions, didn't see any questions pop up, but I was a little distracted there. I'm thinking that this one's going to be a little shorter than normal. It was an hour and a half-ish.
That's some good work there.
Yeah, I'm sure that if the guys had been here, there would have been more questions and discussion than just
Yeah.
the two of us.
Well,
But
I've enjoyed it, so thank you for making the time and
oh,
effort.
hey,
Yeah.
and yeah, we might decide to do some more stuff. And
Yeah.
if not this show, I may be doing something on Saturdays a little earlier in the day, which
Okay.
which might work for you.
Yeah.
And then other people across the pond. So,
Yeah, indeed.
well, thank you so much for joining us. I
Uh,
really do appreciate it.
yeah, you're very welcome, and thanks to everybody who listened. If there were listeners, I don't know. So, but thank you. And
Yeah, we that
yeah,
we have 17 viewers right now.
well,
So,
that's life changing. Actually, 17 people.
yeah.
That's life changing.
So, at any rate,
All right, Amy.
love always.
You too. Take care.
All right, you too. And bye,
Good
everybody in the
night.
chat room. Love you all. Hi, Laz. Saw you in there. Hi, Jux. Love everybody. And I am going to call it quits because I can't run the intro or the outro. So, doom boom, ba doom boom. Anyway, talk. See you all later. Bye.